In this video, I'm going to walk through my human optimization tracker. This is the exact tracker I use day to day in order to track quantitatively and qualitatively my progress towards what I call my maximum life, my ideal life. How do I live like a 0.001% human, maximizing all areas of life, health, and work? And before I dive into this video, the rest of the video is going to be pulled directly from Scaling School, which is our community online where we teach things like stuff like this, how I journal, personal productivity, how I only work a few hours a day and run a multiple 8-figure business. And then we also teach other things like Facebook ads and sales funnels and low ticket funnels and communities and operations and client success and fulfillment and all of that stuff. And we literally just launched it. We've got over 100 members in the last 21 days. And so if you're interested, we're doing this insane launch. We're giving away like $20,000 worth of information inside there, things that people literally used to pay $15,000 to $50,000 a year for. We're giving away included inside the membership for a limited time for those that sign up. So if you want to get access to not just the sheets, to all the other things that I cover inside of here, that my journaling, all that other stuff, I recommend going down below at some point, either before or after this video, and you can access it as well. Okay, and join Scaling School. So with that being said, let's dive right in. Okay, so let's dive into what I call the human optimization tracker. And this is how I connect data to my day-to-day decisions to build me what I like to call like my maximum life. How do I live the absolute best life possible? How do I get closer to my life manifesto? How do I wake up every single day and I don't make the same mistakes over and over and over again? So being a systems nerd, I created this Google Sheets that I can track on a daily basis. I'm going to walk you through the entire thing in this video here. The only caveat I'm going to say is that most people that are watching this, you may think that you're a Sheets expert and I should change it and blah, blah, blah. I am not a Sheets expert. I am not a graphic design person, but I have been doing this since, since June of 23, and it works pretty fine for me. Okay. So let's dive into it here. So I'm going to break it down. So pretty much it's pretty simple. On the very top first column, you have the days of the month of whatever month that you're looking at here. So maybe I can zoom in a little bit here. There we go. Days of the month all the way through the end of the month. So this is January, for example. And then on the left-hand side, I have the different questions that I'm asking myself, which I'll go through here in a moment. And I'm asking myself this every day. And then on the bottom is the qualitative average of the final 3 questions for that day, which is pretty much how I felt like my life was that day. Would I want to repeat that life that day over and over and over again for the rest of my life? And then the very right-hand side, you have the monthly average. Okay, so all of the different columns, all the questions I ask myself, what is the average of these? And then by the end of the year, I could create an annual one that lets me look at it on an annual basis. What was the annual average, right? And one of my principles in life is pain plus reflection equals progress. And I think a lot of people go through a lot of pain and they may do a little bit of reflection, like writing in their journals, but the real progress is going to come when you combine journal writing and you combine it with like a human, like this kind of tracking sheet right here, where you're not, privy to humans, their tendency to like not remember things or to maybe gloss over the more important details. Okay, so that's the 30,000 foot view. Now let me walk down each one of these things. So these are, if I'm trying to optimize for my life manifesto, my perfect life, some of these questions are things that I know will affect me in getting towards my perfect life or my ideal or my maximum life. So let me just walk through some of these questions. The first question I ask myself every morning is, did I stay on my diet yesterday? Yes or no? And my diet is no refined sugars, no big meals, no fatty foods, no fried foods, no bad oil, et cetera, et cetera. So did I stay on my diet in the sense that I didn't do any of these bad things over here, okay? So I do meal prep and I have a bunch of other videos on how I do that. I won't go in depth on all this stuff, but these are the things that I've identified that make me feel bad the next day. They affect my sleep score. And so as I'm like going through this system and I'm learning more and more things, for example, I learned that whenever I ate, I used to go to the sushi restaurant, I used to eat, they called it gyutoro, but it was like short rib. I felt sick after I ate that short rib, and that's because my body doesn't, once you get your body so dialed, it actually becomes harder and harder to eat anything unhealthy because you immediately get sick. And so it wasn't that it was necessarily unhealthy, it was just fattening. So I added the next day fatty foods on here. So this is my first question. Did I stay on my diet for that day? Yes or no? The next question is, did I stop eating 2+ hours before bed? This is also something that I added on here because I realized that if I ate too close to bedtime, then it would affect my sleep for that night, which would then affect my energy the next day, my sleep score, my readiness score, how I woke up, the grogginess, et cetera, et cetera. So I always try to eat at least 2 hours before bed. Typically, it's usually 3. Yes or no question. No blue light within 1 hour before bed. So I do have blue light blockers that I use, which I really love. But even that being said, one of the main reasons why I don't do blue light within an hour of bed, because a lot of people know you shouldn't do it because it hurts your melatonin production. But what also people don't realize, or at least I should say from my own personal experience, is that it's not just the melatonin that gets disturbed. It's that usually when I'm looking at my blue light, it's my computer or my phone, and then, or maybe like a TV show or a movie. But the problem with all those 3 things is that it starts racing my mind when I should be winding my mind down. So all of a sudden, like I'm watching this movie and it's like all this action, or, you know, I like a lot of war movies, so it's like war, fighting, killing, all this stuff. And then I'm like trying to go peacefully to sleep. Or it would be, you know, I would be working really late. I used to work with my laptop in my bed, and then I just close the computer and try to go to sleep. And some people go right to sleep when they say that, but what is the quality of that sleep is what my question is, right? And so I realized that if I did too much of, if I like consumed too much blue light, I was usually stressing myself out right before bed, and then my mind would be racing and I wouldn't be able to fall asleep. So no blue light within an hour of bed. 5:30 wake up time. So that's the time that I wake up every morning, or I strive to wake up every morning. But if you've seen my other video in the Life Manifesto, you know that it's not always 5:30 because for me, it's more important to get 8 hours of sleep than it is to wake up at 5:30, because I know that my quality of my decisions is always best, and my work is always best when I get enough sleep. So some people are it doesn't matter, whatever, I get 4 hours of sleep, 3 hours of sleep, and that's great for you. I just know based on reflection that I do best with 8 hours of sleep. So even if I got up and I only had 4 hours of sleep, even if I got 3 more hours of work, it would be less than I just slept in and had more quality work done, at least in my experience. Sleep 8+ hours. So sleep 8+ hours. This is a big distinction I learned as well. A lot of people ask me how I get my aura score so high a lot of the times, like sometimes in the 90s, 95, 98. And the reason is because I've figured out the things like this that I know will affect my next day and my sleep score. And one of the things I learned is that if I get over 8 hours of sleep, not time in bed, but physical sleep time, which Aura shows you, which I'll link some of this stuff down below. I'll link the Aura app and the sheet and a bunch of other stuff down below. If I get 8 hours of sleep plus of sleep time, I'm almost guaranteed to have an 85+ sleep score. Even if I don't wake up at 5:30, if I watch TV right before I go to bed, if I eat an hour with the bed and I don't stay in my diet, if I get 8.5 hours of sleep, or I'm sorry, 8 hours of sleep time, not time in bed, it's almost guaranteed to have an 85 score or above. Then sleep time below that is what time did I actually go to sleep. So you can see like 8:30, 9:20. Wake up time is what time did I wake up in the morning, 7:06, 8:12. Total sleep, that's the thing that I told you a moment ago. That is the actual time I am asleep. So that doesn't include wake ups in the middle of the night, which unfortunately happens to me, especially when I'm like excited about work and stuff. That'll happen a lot, or if I'm stressed out about a few things. My Aura sleep score, my Aura readiness score, my lowest heart rate BPM. So this is beats per minute. This is like how if I do some of these things here, like watch a movie too late before bed, or if I eat too close to bed, whatever, my whole body is like racing and doing all this. It's like working overtime. And so anytime my heart rate is too high, the lowest heart rate average is too high, then it usually means I have a very poor quality of sleep. And recently I got hit with a sickness. I won't say what it is on YouTube, but I think you probably can take a guess. And I was out for a week straight. And my average sleep score, well, we can actually see. In this month, my average lowest heart rate was 52. When I was sick, I couldn't get out of bed. My average was 63. Okay, sometimes as high as 65, something along those numbers. So like, it's a really good indicator of how well your body is recovering the next day. And then I asked myself 3 simple questions. So how did you show up for your life yesterday, 1 to 10? How did you show up for your health yesterday, 1 to 10? And how did you show up for your work yesterday, 1 to 10? And these 3 questions, if I were to actually go back to some of the earlier months, I used to ask myself, would I live this day over and over, this exact same day over and over again for the rest of my life? Kind of like Groundhog Day. If you're old, you know that, not old, older, you know that movie. If you're a young whippersnapper, you probably have no idea what I'm talking about. But in Groundhog Day, the guy lives the same day over and over again. And I have this theory that life is not like you come to this end destination and you've reached all of your goals. Life is more along the lines of how, you figure out what you like and what makes you happy, what gives you energy, what enlarges you, and then you figure out how to do that on a day-to-day basis. How do you incorporate this stuff instead of waiting until the once a quarter to go on a vacation, once a year to do something special for someone you love? It's like, what are these things that I love, and let me just stack this on every day, because like that's in my opinion, a day is the smallest unit of time that you can like measure and have an impact on. Like if you were to do it every hour, that's too small. You're not going to do all this stuff every hour. And if you do it every week, you're kind of missing out on the bigger picture. So every day for me, I'm measuring these 3 questions. And I used to ask myself, would I repeat this day every day for the rest of my life? Because the more you can stack amazing days on top of each other, the more, in my opinion, you'd have this amazing life. However, what I felt like before was that it wasn't, when I used to ask myself that question, it wasn't representative enough of the different aspects of my day and the different aspects of life. Because the 3 main areas of my life is my life itself, which I include like social life. I include like just enjoying nature, like being out and like, experiencing fun activities. I include my relationship with my family. I include my relationship with my girlfriend, friends, et cetera, et cetera. So that's like life. And then there's health, and health would be like, did I stay on my diet? Did I eat clean? How did I feel that day? My energy, my vibrance, my workouts. Did I give at the gym, did I give it my all, or did I kind of haphazardly do it? And then my work. So how hard did I give it at work today? It's not just like, did I put in 15 hours of work, but did I actually move the needle on the things I needed to move the needle in my, I could work 2 hours, but if in those 2 hours, I did this work that I knew I needed to get done, I didn't procrastinate, et cetera, then it'd be closer to a 10, right? So you can see if I was just having one thing there like I used to, which is like, would I live this day over and over again for the rest of my life? Then I could have this day where I work out really hard and I work really hard. I have like a really strong work day, but then I don't talk to my girlfriend, I don't see any friends, and I never leave my house, right? And that's the case on some days. And so then my life score would be like a 0 or a 1 or a 2 or a 3 or something like that, right? So this to me is what I found as works, and I'm continuously optimizing these things. And then the final is going to be the qualitative average. So what are the averages of these last 3 numbers here? And this is kind of more of like the would you repeat this day every single day for the rest of your life score down here. And so you can see 7.3, 7.7, 7.8. And I'll try to find, like, for example, okay, here's one. On one, let's see, 13, I had a 9, 9, and a 3. So I had a 9 on show up for my life, a 9 for show up my health, and a 3 to show up for work. And the way that this works, which I'll talk about in a second, is that on the 13th, I'm writing it first thing in the morning. So this is typically the 12th. So let me actually pull up my journal and see if I can find something. I'm going to figure out why I have a 3 on show up for my. Okay, so here's some radical transparency for you guys, right? So this is on the 13th, you can see, Saturday, January 13th, and it's so funny. I had Jeremy Miner and Dan Martell on my podcast that day. Jeremy Miner is actually a client of ours, and Dan Martell, I've been following his stuff for a little bit. I actually read his book, Buy Back Your Time, and I was so excited to interview them. I had such a great interview with them that day. And then I went to dinner with the CEO of Truvani that night, who I had met actually with Dan. And so like I was so focused on these podcasts and getting ready for these podcasts. And then I was so focused on like the dinner that I had coming up that I didn't really get like a whole lot of work done that day. And it's so funny because even where I'm at my stage, the amount of content that I create, I still don't consider creating content work, even though I really should look at this. Maybe I'll reflect and understand that creating content is work. But in my personal opinion, the fact that really all I had done that day was get the podcast room ready, do one podcast with Jeremy Miner, one podcast with Dan Martell, and then one dinner with Dan and a few other people. Like those things, that's not enough for me to consider like a really strong work day. Even though there's collaborations and networks and connections that have been super helpful for me, that's just to give you like an insight as to how my brain works in that. That's why I really gave myself a 3 there. But I gave myself a 9 on showing for my life because like I got to go to dinner and I really enjoyed that, speaking with other people, and a 9 for showing up with my health because I know that I got a really good workout in that day in between like the podcast that I did, right? So that just to kind of show you how my mind is thinking when I'm scoring these things inside of here, okay? So that's the average that you can see of every single one of these questions. So on the bottom is the qualitative average, and then on the right-hand side is the monthly average. So in the month of January, I stayed on my diet about 50% of the time, okay? I stopped eating within 2 hours of bed about 50% of the time. I had no blue light within an hour of bed within 50% of the time. I woke up at 5:30 a.m. only 20% of the time. So that's pretty low for me. That's pretty disappointing. But it was like coming back on New Year's Eve, and I won't make excuses. It should be higher than that, but it wasn't. But once again, that's not as important to me because I care more about my sleep score than anything else. But I definitely should be getting up at 5:30. Sleep 8+ hours. I only did that 30% of the time. Okay. Sleep time. My average time that I went to sleep was 8:43 p.m. The average time I woke up was 6:51 a.m. So in full radical transparency with you guys, this isn't the best month to show you guys, but I just want to show you that I'm not perfect and I make mistakes all the time. But this was a challenging month for me because I was going through some stuff both personally and in business that really kept me up. So there were a lot of nights where, like, for example, you can see I went to bed at 8:46. I woke up at 6:34 right here. So 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 10 hours of time in bed, but only 6 hours and 49 minutes of time asleep. And that's because I was just... when I get really stressed about things, and also when I get very excited, but when I get really stressed about things, I just toss and turn. So it's not uncommon for me to be awake for 2 to 3 hours in the middle of the night. I'll wake up at 1 o'clock and I'll be awake until 4 o'clock. And then sometimes I'll take a melatonin and then that'll mess with my sleep. So then I sleep later, right? And then I wake up groggy. So, here's the not pretty side of being an entrepreneur and having businesses, and it's stressful. Now, my business isn't perfect. It's not always up and to the right. And so these are the things that I learned, right, from it. So that was a pretty bad month for sleep. I remember that specifically, and I know the things, and I won't get into them right now, but it was a challenging month. My average sleep score was an 81, so not bad, right, because the Aura considers an 85 great. For me, it's kind of low, but that's still not bad. And then readiness score, so Aura sleep score is pretty much how did you sleep, and Aura readiness score is like how ready are you to take on the day. 79, not amazing, but once again, this was a pretty challenging month for me. Lowest heart rate's 52. I try to stay closer to 49, but that's good. And then how did you show up for your life? 7.4. How did you show up for your health? 6.8. And how did you show up for your work? 7.1. So for an average cumulative score of 6.9. So, these last three aren't bad. Obviously, this month in health, 6.8 wasn't great, but that was mostly because, I consider sleep to be part of my health. And if I'm waking up for 2-3 hours in the middle of the night, then I would consider it to be that I wasn't being very healthy in that sense. And then, that would cut into my work time in the day. And then that would sometimes, then I would miss a workout because I was sleeping in until, in some of these days here, 7 o'clock in the morning, which I usually get up at 5:30. So then I'm losing 2 hours in my day. And so then I have to make that up. So sometimes I sacrifice the gym workout, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so now what I'll do is actually walk you through an example of me filling out one of these days just so that you can kind of understand of how it works. So we'll do the January 13th because that is the day that we already talked about earlier that I showed you. That was the days that I did the podcast, et cetera, et cetera. So I would fill this out in the first thing in the morning after I was done journaling and after I looked at my life manifesto and after my Aura app had uploaded. So I'm going to kind of walk this through you like step by step, but when I got to my computer, I would open it up and I would start letting the Aura app start loading on my phone. Now, I'm not going to get into this Aura Whoop, debate on things, Apple Watch, blah, blah, blah. I like the Aura ring because I wear a lot of like gold jewelry and then I'll wear maybe a nicer watch, like a Rolex or something like that on my other hand. And I hate the way that the Whoop looks like. It looked like I would have this very expensive, nice watch on one hand, and I would have this like plastic black thing on my other hand, and I really didn't like it at all. So what I did instead is I got the Aura ring, and then I got a gold one. This isn't an Aura ring, but just to give you an example, I got a gold one on here, and that way I could still wear it out if I wanted to, and it wouldn't look bad. And then actually what I recently started doing is now I just wear it when I go to sleep. So I literally keep it on the charging station right next to my bed, and I just wear it when I go to sleep, and then when I wake up, I open up my Aura app, I let it load, and then I take it off and I put the ring on that I do like to wear because I just like to look and feel good personally. So we'll do 113. Now, how does the dates work? Well, this is on the 14th when I wake up in the morning. So this, like, I have Aura. Let me just make this bigger for you. Cool. On the 14th in the morning, I have my Aura app opened up, and this is the data really from the 13th, right? Because this is the 14th in the morning. So on the 14th in the morning, I'm filling out the 13th inside of here. So did I stay on my diet? Yes or no? So I did stay on my diet, even though I went to dinner out with those people, with Dan and his friends that night. Still stayed on my diet. We ate clean, we ate healthy. And that was cool because they were all eating clean and healthy, which I really liked. Did I stop eating 2+ hours before bed? Yes as well. You know, I like to eat early, so did all those people. So I think the dinner was at 5:30. No blue light within an hour of bed? Yes as well, because after I got dinner, I went home, I read, and I went to sleep. Did I wake up at 5:30? So the answer here is no. And the reason I didn't wake up at 5:30 is if I look at it right here, I can see down here on the bottom, you have the time that you went to bed right here, which looks like it's 9:19. The time that you woke up, which is right here, which is 6:57. You have your total sleep time, so not just time in bed, but total sleep time, which looks like it's like 8 hours and 38 minutes. And then you have your like lowest heart rate or average heart rate right there, which is 49. So I woke up at 6:57 in the morning. And so let's go back down here. So because I woke up at 6:57, the answer here is no. And the reason why I have it in two places is because I like to see the average of how many times I'm waking up, which is only 0.3 this month, but how many times that I'm waking up on time, right? So let me go back to the 13th. Cool. So the answer to that question is no. Did I sleep 8+ hours? The answer is yes. And like I said before, I will always prioritize sleeping more than 8 hours than I will waking up on time. And so as you can see in the Aura app here, I slept for 8 hours and 36 minutes, which shows it right there. Okay. So I slept for over 8 hours. So then I'll come inside of here and I'll put in the time. So 9:19, which I put in here, 6:57, which I put in here, 8 hours and 36 minutes, which I put here. My sleep score was a 92 and my readiness score was a 92. So they happen to actually both be the exact same thing, those two big numbers right there. And then my average heart rate, I might as well just get it right now. What is it thing? It is the resting heart rate. I guess it's the resting heart rate. Yeah. Resting heart rate is a good measure of your recovery. It's the number of times your heart beats per minute when you're at rest. Okay. So maybe it's the average resting heart rate. I don't know if that's what I said. And then I said a 9, and a 3. So how did I show up for my life? You know, I had dinner with Dan and these friends, this guy from the CEO of Truvani that I really enjoyed the conversation with. I worked out that day. I was healthy. I ate clean. That's a 9. And then a 3 for work because I felt like I didn't really get my work done that day, for a total qualitative score of 7 on the bottom for like, would I live this day again and again for the rest of my life? So there you have it. That is the human optimization tracker, ladies and gentlemen. I hope that you got some value out of it. The only thing that I will say is that I will put the links down below to the tracker and to the different things that I talked about inside of here. And then keep an eye out for one of the other videos I'm going to put out, which is how I use the journal, like that I just talked about here, how I use the information from inside of here, and then how I also use this qualitative numbers inside of ChatGPT so that I can have ChatGPT kind of be like my Windy Rhodes, my performance coach on a week-to-week basis. See you.